Hello, welcome everyone to this wonderful, beautiful Saturday morning slash, as of 1 minute ago, afternoon for those who are East Coast. I want to welcome everyone to the Public Service Internship Program. My name is Anthony Lay, and it spells L-E, but pronounced Lay, as in legitimately your best friend in this journey. Legitimately give me your coach, guide, leadership trainer, and I think I said best friend, but I will say it again, your best friend through this. I will be facilitating this with my Pivotal Moments co-manager, or co-facilitated with my Pivotal Moments program manager. There you go. And a little information about Pivotal Moments before I introduce Donna, and then we're gonna move on a little bit on the schedule. Pivotal Moments was created out of the need and desire, and actually desire for me, my desire to make the world better, but in the space of leadership. As we start seeing a little bit more in, I guess I want to say, with the rise of anti-Asian hate that's going on, with continuous like Asian American history, where we're always struggling, we're looking for more representation, we want to grow more leaders. I realized Pivotal Moments made sense to create, so that in our pivotal moments, which is now, and as we continue facing pivotal moments, we step into a space of leadership, a space of courage, a space where we can fully be ourselves, but also take our community with us and uplift our community. Pivotal Moments is really humbled and honored to be helped facilitating this program alongside Civic Leadership Academy, who has been helping you fund your internship program, build a pipeline of leaders so that we have more representation leaders in the process as we move forward in the future, especially as the population increase, as the Asian American population increases. Okay. I'll talk a little bit more about that, and I spend more time. We'll have more as we spend more time in the future together. You'll hear more about Pivotal Moments, but I also want to do a quick introduction to Donna, and then we're going to hand it over to the education director. So Donna, and would like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, everyone. My name is Donna, and I'm the programs manager for Pivotal Moments. I'm excited to join Pivotal Moments because I get to be in a space that advocates for social justice and equity and building leaders, especially young leaders, to be part of our community and empower and uplifting our communities as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks.
So we're wonderful people. So anytime during the leadership development part of your journey with this, hit us up, let us know. It's like, hey, how can we support you? But we do have an exciting program today. Let me go ahead and do the agenda real quick, and then I'm gonna hand this off to our wonderful education director. Oh, wait, before I forget, housekeeping. So our chat windows is available to you. You have your reaction window, and in the reaction window, or the reaction buttons, you can do hearts, hands up, thumbs up. So you can definitely interact with your speakers that way. The reason why we're muting everyone's audio today is because we are expecting between 150 to 180 people. That's a lot, right? And we want to make sure that we provide a great experience. Everyone's video, we encourage you to have your video on because we want to actually see you all too. Today is about curiosity, clarity, and courage. Now, we understand that a lot of you have your public internship program. You might be veterans. You may know what you need to do. You might have wonderful training programs, or you might be brand new, like where you are still like going, okay, we got funded, we know our programs, we got to make sure we confirm like where our interns are being placed, right? You may be that space. Or you may be brand new and you're going, what is this? How do I get invited to this? And oh my goodness, I haven't seen so many Asian people in such a long time. This is amazing. What do I do? Right. And so with that said, I want you to approach with curiosity, no matter where you're at, in terms of how do I take my programs, my leadership to the next level? Now, if you're interns, right, and you're students, you're like, well, is this for adults? And I'm not a leader yet, right? It's like, no, everyone can be a leader with one caveat to this. And I learned this during my master's program. Until you start believing you're a leader, you won't be a leader, but believe that you are a leader because you're a leader, which is kind of weird, right? It's a roundabout way. And I realized leadership isn't about just about seeing yourself as this identity of a leader. Leadership is a process. By the fact that you're here with us today, you are in the process of leadership. And so for you, for the young students, approach with curiosity in terms of how can I show up while embracing myself and being fully who I One of the challenges as young leaders, and I think just Asian Americans in general, is that the environment tells us that we have to be a certain way. We have to succeed a certain way. We have to approach the way we live in society and contribute to community a certain way. I'm going to say, let's challenge that. Let's be curious in how we can show up, which then leads to the next part. Our workshops today will talk about a little bit more clarity. Like, how do we start building some clarity around what we want to do in this short time we have together today, but also in the 2-3 months, 3-4 months that we have together as well. And we'll have support tools for you as well. And so with the clarity part, we're going to have some speakers who've gone through this program before, who have some insights, some knowledge that can help you out. We also have a wonderful intern from previous years who's going to come back and go, hey, you know, these are things I wish my program manager did. These are things I want to do. And the most important part, courage in this piece. Actually, the most important part is respect, but courage is still pretty important. Courage is more of not, and I've been doing this coaching session with a friend this past week. Courage isn't about being bold, about being outspoken. Courage, I think, it's really about taking one step further out of your comfort zone from where you're at. So for some people, it might just be chatting in the text or chatting in the group text, the group chat. For other people, it might be running for office. Courage, I'm going to encourage you to step into courage by choosing what's right for you and taking a step forward, just one step at a time, each and every day. And then respect is very simple. Respect each other. Come with curiosity, clarity, and courage, but also respect. If you don't respect folks, I will have my enforcers, which is Wen, who is going to be like, I'll see you later, because we have no room for intolerance. And now, with that said, I am going to introduce Ching Bai, who's going to introduce this amazing speaker. Oops.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. Can you hear me now? Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ching Bai. I'm the Director of Education in Civic Leadership Academy. It's my great honor to have Mr. Sandy Chow here. Mr. Sandy Chow is a successful venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, California. He's also a philanthropist and has focused on social justice issues for many years. He has supported public service internship program through Vision New America, Civic Leadership USA, and now Civic Leadership Academy, totally for more than 20 years. He is very passionate to promote Asian Pacific Islander American civic engagement and provide grants, training, and other resources to API organizations nationwide with the goals to train and connect API civic leaders. Now, let us welcome Mr. Sandy Chow.
Hello. Well, organizers, and then so happy to be with you again. And then is welcome the potential trainer of interns and interns. I think this is a really wonderful time that we get together, and then really have a start of helping the community. Interns are very, very important to link the civil community with our own community, because you will be interned at very influential people who already dedicated their life and their energy into for public benefits. So by exposing to them, and then you create a link between your own community, your own ethnic community, and then to with the elected people, so you become a very important bridge between them. I believe that people of all professions or all walks of life, it would be so nice that they also contributed to this wonderful world that we have. I think it is that to be a great country deserve the greatest people to serve it. And I really foresee that that you are the intern, you are the future of our society. When you become the future of society, no matter what profession you're in, you will be, please, this exposure will lead you to participation of that. And also, there might be also open up a even deeper commitment, deeper participation by actually working for the country, working for the state, working for the city, working for the community in different capacity. From bottom up, you can volunteer for the government, and then you can eventually get elected in the government, or you work for the city government as a public servant. I think public servants are, we should look up to them because they really dedicated to make us a better community. And also participate not only in your own ethnic area, you participate in the general different organizations or different commissions to make this a better world. But more importantly is, if you have the talent and dedication and the commitment, go for to be elected. So therefore you can actually create and improve legislation that will help us all. I think this is a collective effort. I would say, really, I'm very excited if I'm have my life all over again. I definitely participate as an intern to start all over again, because this will be a very great foundation for you. So I really anticipate a great start, and I anticipate a great internship program this year. And the important thing is, once you become an intern, you develop your skill set, and then we really like you to help out this program continuously and other community continuously. And then so therefore we have a great pipeline for a better future. Here I congratulate the start of it, and then I really thankful for the organizer, for the trainer, and for the committed parent and committed community worker that also assist the intern program. I think it's just, let's go. And then I really love to see you. But anyway, I see you, I will say, wow, I'm looking at the people that will build a better future for all of us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for sharing your vision and insight with us. Again, I want to say welcome all program leaders and students. We are very proud and honored to support public service internship program nationwide by giving grants, training, and networking resources to all the nonprofit organizations on the programs. So as the person who's in charge of this grant in our organization, I kind of bothering you many times and through emails, some people just directly by phone calls. But so many internship program leaders might know me well already. But for those who don't know me yet, I would just give a little bit about myself, my background, and why I'm doing this work. So Mr. Sandy Chow is actually my role model, and then I haven't done as much, way less than him, but it's just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Beijing, China, and got my MD and master degree of human genetics there. And then I moved to Silicon Valley, California with my family at year 2001. I worked in a product development department in a gene chip company for many years. From my coworkers there, I learned about a local nonprofit organization that helps elementary schools in rural China That is the first nonprofit organization I joined as a volunteer. After 14 years, started from taking very small assignments. Eventually, I became the vice president in charge of the teacher and principal training programs and many more. We even started a youth group which provide volunteer opportunities to the students. And for our local community, I served as a historical commissioner for 2 terms in my city, Los Altos, California, where very few Asian faces are in the local government, although we have a fast growing population of Asian Americans here. I'm also the Action and the DEI Director in League of Women Voters, Southwest Santa Clara Valley chapter, and involved with several important civic education projects, such as Proposition Pros and Cons and U.S. Government 101 civic education webinars. And in January 2019, I joined our chairman, Mr. Sandy Chow, and the team to start working for the Public Service Internship Program grant in Civic Leadership USA, a nonprofit organization focusing on empowering API civic leaders and communities. And at the beginning of this June, we spin off from SAIL USA and have a new nonprofit organization, Civic Leadership Academy, to focus on civic leadership development. Through the grant work, I'm connected with many nonprofit organizations and their dedicating staff and volunteers. They are working so hard to increase the awareness of civic engagement in API communities and develop API leaders all the way to elected office. Together, we have seen young leaders learn about many levels of kind of government work, legislative process, work in court. Some became government employees after their internship or become policy advocates, even elected officials. We have seen organizations running this program build their community stronger. More members become commissioners, school board members, elected officials, building coalition with different ethnic groups and organizations. We are so proud of program leaders and students. We believe that if we want our community, our government to have real diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, everyone needs to participate and contribute. And we are happy to do our part to help support and connect all the civic-minded leaders and young leaders. As we all know, since early last year, the COVID-19 pandemic makes the public service internship program very difficult and challenging for the program leaders to find government internship placements and run the program. Many training, internship events, and graduation ceremonies are moved to online. Despite the difficulties, many organizations, leaders, and students, which still managing to run this to keep this momentum going, which impress and encourage us greatly too. This year, we are so honored and happy to support 26 organizations and chapters from 9 different states, over 100 program leaders and about 100 program leaders and about 260 students from high school, college, and graduate school to do this public service internship program. I know some programs are still recruiting students. So today we don't have as, all the students can join us, but we'll record this session and make sure everyone can watch after. So as we know, some of the program are doing government managed to have government internship placement, and some programs are doing government-related projects and other civic engagement projects to achieve our grant goals, as Mr. Sandy Chow just said, which is to build strong relationship with local government, to inspire students, interns, to actively engage in their community, and to build a pipeline of API civic leaders in public office. We do have some expectations for the program leaders and the student interns, and we would like to state them in this online orientation. So for program leaders, you have been working so hard for months to plan your program, secure internship placement, interview and select students, design trainings, and all the other preparation work. We appreciate all your work deeply and want you to keep your program goals in mind. Continue preparing and developing your students in civic engagement and civic leadership by providing training, mentoring, and hands-on projects to the students. Please also continue building strong relationship with local government. Use the graduation ceremony and other events as great opportunities to acknowledge students, as well as government offices, partners, program leaders, other volunteers, and community members. Continue encouraging your community members to become civically engaged. We believe your continuous work will make your program stronger, have bigger positive impact to your community, gather people with similar minds, and get more support. Have more and more young leaders graduate from your program and become civic leaders too. Eventually, you will have a pipeline of civic leaders all the way to elected office. As we see all of us as one big team and family doing this public service internship program together, we would love to be your supporters and participating in your online events, keeping close communication with you if you need any help or have any questions. We would like to invite people to share their best practice with other program leaders, help building connections and a program leaders society in the future. For the students, we want you to use your opportunity well and get the most from your internship work. As Mr. Sandy Chow just mentioned, know yourself, your goals, know your internship work well and be proactive. Know your organization well and get involved with more civic engagement work your organization is doing. Find yourself mentors and build your network. Be persistent and active in civic engagement. We know you are here because you are interested and passionate in civic engagement, public service, and social justice. Please remember, all the leaders, volunteers, and us are here to support you. So this orientation is for all of us to know people with similar minds, to be inspired by people and think about your plan and achieve your goals. Now I will hand it over to our training partner, Anthony and Donna, who are our long-term training partner, well-trained and very experienced leadership coaches, and they will lead the orientation and guide you through. Welcome, Anthony and Donna.
Yes, thank you, Ching. I feel like I talked a lot already. So as an example, role modeling of like in space, Donna, why don't you take the lead?
Hello, hi. Let me go ahead and 1 second. Anthony, you want me to share the presentation of the land acknowledgement right now?
I can share it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so before we begin, I definitely want to do a land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, either physically and virtually, we want to take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place and to recognize the various traditional lands on which we discuss to do our business, organizations, wherever we are. It's important to recognize who is here first and who needs to be included. And oftentimes we tend to not include those who are here. So with the land acknowledgement, we want to pause to acknowledge that here in the United States, sit on the land of the indigenous tribe. And we remember their connection to the land and give thanks to the opportunity to where we live, work, learn, and play on their traditional homeland. So let us take a moment of silence to pay for their respects to their elders and to all the indigenous tribes of the people past and present. All right. And then, Anthony, you want to go to the next slide? All right. So I definitely want to introduce a few people here today. Of course, there is Anthony, and Anthony is our CEO for the Pitiful Moments. We also have Vivian, who joined CBCAC in 2019 as part of the census team. Through working here, she's able to combine her love of meeting for new people with her passion for language justice and equity. She currently works on projects that focus on resource equity in areas such as digital literacy, internet access for CPS students, and Chicago Parks District programming. While I am introducing these leaders, go ahead and do like a +1 or emoji, whatever you want to say hi to our leaders. We have Vivian. Next, we also have Dylan. He is an undergraduate student at Columbia University, studying political science and statistics with a passion for educational policy reform. Through Civic Leadership USA and APA-PA, Dylan interned at Houston City Council during the summer of 2019, picking up both wealth experience and the initial spark to transition from studying mathematics to the public sector. He plans to pursue a career in teaching and eventually work to build a better education system for future generations. That's Dylan. Wow, yes, Dylan, go for it. And then we have Steve Lin, who has worked over 20 years with college students in nonprofit settings as well in higher education. He is currently the director of programs at Centers for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment. Abbreviation is CAUSE, and is responsible for the oversight and development of CAUSE civic engagement and development programs, including their Leadership Academy, summer internship for college students. So please, everyone, you could unmute yourself or emoji. Please give our leaders a round of applause for being here today.
And so Donna, I'm just want to double check. We have a Vivian in this group, but I don't think it's the same Vivian. I'm double checking. Oh, okay. I see Vivian now. Vivian, is that you? Vivian, just Vivian. Okay. So we're gonna wait for Vivian, but why don't we go ahead and start with our wonderful speakers, and I'll figure out that end. I'll be doing tech now.
All right. Okay, so for our first round of question, what is your name, pronouns, roles, and responsibility currently?
Steve, you want to take it?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can get the ball rolling. Thank you, Dylan. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Lin. I use he, him pronouns, and I am currently the director for programs at Centers for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment, or CAUSE for short. So in my role, I'm responsible for overseeing, developing, and facilitating all of our civic engagement programs. And so we have a number of programs through CAUSE this Cause Leadership Academy, which is our summer internship program for college students. And just want to shout out a couple of our interns who are in the room as well. We also have the Cause Leadership Institute for mid-level professionals to kind of further their leadership skills development, as well as get them connected to each other, as well as Cause's network here to encourage them to get more involved civically. And then we also have the Leadership Network for more seasoned, more senior people in our community to, again, serve as a network to each other and find ways that they can be civically engaged and support each other in their projects. We also have our VOTE initiatives, which is voter outreach training and education programs. And so these are a broad range of programs designed to get more of the Asian Pacific Islander community engaged with voting and voting education. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, Dylan,
I think you might be muted.
Yeah, your mic is muted.
Yeah, sorry, I can't unmute unless the host allows me to. Anyways, sorry about that. I'm Dylan. I go by he, him pronouns. I'm currently an undergraduate student at Columbia University studying political science statistics, as mentioned in my biography. I really can't follow up Steve's resume. I'm not that impressive. But I'm currently working as a research intern with Harvard University, doing some stuff with understanding geospatial relationships and bipartisan voters and how that kind of works. Doing a lot of data analytics on a lot of people. We're actually, it's kind of creepy, but we have like data on like every voter. So it's kind of, anyways, I swear we don't have your actual information, but it's still pretty entertaining. Otherwise, I'm the president at UNICEF Columbia, where we work on really helping the UNICEF USA organization, as well as UNICEF like international work towards their goals. We do fundraising for them. We get their name out there. We educate. We do whatever we can to do that. And as mentioned, we were, as mentioned, I've also been an intern under Civic Leadership USA, which is now, I guess, Civic Leadership Academy. And I've really enjoyed my time there. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you. Vivian, I believe we have you on the screen. Are you here with us today?
Yes, hi. Yeah, my name is Vivian. I work at the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community. We are a civic engagement nonprofit in Chicago's Chinatown. And we primarily do like voting and GeoTV and census stuff. But outside of those major events, we have other activities that promote political education and yeah, just any sort of civic engagement, helping folks get in contact with their local electeds and whatnot. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, for our second question, how has being part of the internship program transformed the way you work, how you serve yourself and others around you today?
I don't mind taking this one first. So I was an intern, so I'm not an intern leader, during the summer of 2019, right before COVID hit us and all that. And so I worked at the city of Houston under one of the council members there. And I was just a standard intern. I was given different assignments and whatnot. And so while I was there, I think initially when I first went into the internship, I was actually interested in being a mechanical engineer. I was going to be an engineer at the time. And I had already done like a year and a half of mechanical engineering study at the University of Houston. But upon like going there and seeing how much change can be affected, how many lives can be affected by a good, even like a city government, a municipal government, I realized like, helping people, like being a direct cause of helping people is something I really want to do. It's something I want to actually, I feel like it's something that can be much more fulfilling, even if it doesn't make as much money sometimes. And so I was thinking, this is actually a really, really interesting route. And so I went from being a mechanical engineer to now I'm considering being a teacher. And then eventually I want to go into educational policy, whether that's as a policy analyst or as a legislator and maybe an elected official, but that's off way in the future.
I like that. Huge change. I feel like we all have changes, right? Dylan, you're not the only one, so you're doing great. Dylan for president, yes. Steve or Vivian, do you want to answer your second question?
I can go.
All right, perfect.
So for our internship program last summer, we had I think like 5 interns working on our GOTV efforts in Chinatown, and it was good because it helped us build a like very long-term relationship with some of like the young adults in the community. Oftentimes, our community members don't tend to gravitate towards civic engagement, partially because it's probably a little bit overwhelming at first. And with our internship program, I think it gave them like a lot of younger community members who are, still not in high school anymore, but in college, and whose families still live there. It helped them establish like a relationship with our organization, and we still like talk to them regularly. They still volunteer with us or help us out regularly. And so I thought that was very, very fruitful for us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
So I'm a little unsure how to answer this question as I'm relatively new to cause. So I'm going to take 2 tacks, and hopefully folks can pull some kernels of usefulness from that. So one, I will say for cause, our summer internship program, we have a couple of exciting projects that we're excited to engage our interns with to help connect our community, both in terms of energy conservation, some issues within the community, but to make them more culturally relevant and to tell stories from our lenses. So I'm really excited to work with our interns on that program, as well as we have a mayoral contest that's coming up here in California. So there'll be an opportunity to research a number of different issues that impact the Asian and Pacific Islander community, and to create collateral to help inform our community, help inform ourselves, and help inform the mayors, mayoral candidates as to what issues are important to our community. I think many of us are here because we all believe that a couple things, that our community is not oftentimes considered or even thought of when thinking about civic engagement, and then intra-community, that oftentimes we don't see our community as engaged. So hopefully both of these projects will have opportunities for folks to get a behind the scenes look as to what kind of work goes into it. And to be honest, in my own internship experiences, there was the excitement of being, with other young folks who are hungry and excited to make an impact. But getting a real behind the scenes look, sometimes we realize that making the sausage isn't as exciting as we think it is all the time, right? Like sometimes it's about, I don't know, in my experience, lining up chairs in a big ballroom. And that's not necessarily like the most exciting or the most civic engagement, thing that I'm going to put on my resume after the experience. But I think for me, the value of the internships and what I hope for folks to get is a larger picture of what it means to be both civically engaged and the kind of work that it takes to support these projects and to support our communities. And so I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you. That was very powerful. For my last question, and since if we have time, we can always have the participants in the room to ask you guys questions as well. The last one would be, what would you like your interns / program leaders to know more about what made your experience more meaningful and impactful?
I'll just jump in to get the ball rolling here. So I'll say that there's three things as a program manager, program director that I aspire to integrate into all of our programs. So number one is intentionality, that everything has a purpose and all of those purposes are connected to the program goals. So if there is ever in your experiences and wherever your offices are that you're kind of like, I'm not really sure how this connects, that you take those opportunities to ask those questions, because I think all of us aspire to make sure that all of our interns and programs have really powerful impacts and have really thought out intentions behind them. My second piece that I aspire to in developing programs is making sure that it's a scaffolded experience. I'm sure you've all had the experience of being in a large group and somebody will say, all right, break into small groups and have a conversation. And it's like crickets, right? Like everybody kind of stares at each other. When I talk about scaffolding, it's like, all right, now break into groups of 3, and I want you to answer these 2 questions, right? So having some guiding frameworks that folks can work within to help get conversations started, get to work on projects, get to having conversations with each other. So that is something I always try to build into programs. And if it's ever something that's missing, or again, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do in this moment, that again, I hope that the interns here, as well as the interns, particularly the causes program, are asking those questions like, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do here. Can you help us out? And then the last piece I was hoping to touch on is just related to taking time to reflect. As someone who is not a natural reflector, I am, someone who will log off a Zoom and an experience and just kind of move on with my day. But I think the power of these internships is having an opportunity to really think deeply about what it is that you're doing, how this is shaping your future passions or your current passions, right? And so I know in our program, we are aspiring to create daily opportunities to just take a minute to reflect. Hey, what has happened today? What has happened this week? How does this connect with my personal experiences? How does this connect with my present, my future that I'm thinking about, and the impact that I want to make? And so if you're doing that solo, or you can do that in groups, if you're a journaler, or if you're someone who needs to talk it out, make sure that you're taking time, if not daily, at certain points, taking time to, think about and reflect on what your experience is, because there's going to be a lot. We're packing a lot into our internships this summer. So we're hoping that you can take time to reflect and see how it all makes sense in your own personal life. So, all right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
I guess I don't mind going next. So I guess both from the perspective of an intern as well as somebody who's like worked with interns as well. First, I guess as an intern, it's really great to ask questions. I think Steve already mentioned that, but you always want to just ask questions. Like it can be questions that are simple. They don't expect you to know everything when you first go in. You do want to ensure that you're doing things correctly and you're doing things the way that they do it as well, because it's a complete new environment. And as a result, you should try to figure out what their paradigm is, what their framework is in terms of how they approach certain problems. So I think asking questions, trying to figure out what's going on, and showing that you're interested, showing that you're attentive and you want to learn more, that's always going to be a +1 for you, without a doubt. In addition to that, I guess, as an intern, working with intern leaders, how I speak to an intern leader, I might mention that it's really important to be a good role model as an intern leader for your interns. It doesn't bode, I mean, as a student, as an intern, as somebody who's just, still new to the world, I guess we have idealistic views of things, lofty ideals. And sometimes we expect our leaders to be completely in charge and know what's going on. And I know that's not the truth. I mean, I don't think anybody really knows what's going on. But we want to believe that. And it's really important that you help us uphold those ideas to some extent. to help us say, like, if you say let's meet up at some point, I'll just follow through with that. It really, like, I still remember I was told, like, one time that we were going to have some sort of check-in on with my intern leaders at one point, to just kind of see what's going on, get a feel for how we've been doing about halfway through our internship. And we're going to have like a lunch with all the interns as well as the intern leaders. And then about a week before it was supposed to happen, the intern leader says, actually, it's not going to happen. Just send us reports. And I was kind of taken aback, hurt a little bit, mostly because I wanted to see, because I had been experiencing a lot of trouble with my internship. There was actually some corruption that was going on right as I entered, and I didn't know how to approach it. And so I really wanted to get some sort of like FaceTime with this guy who's supposed to be a little more experienced, who knows a little more about what's going on, and ask out like a third party, like, how do I approach an internship in which I am seeing like blatant like corruption and things that are like definitely questionable? Like, what do I do? And so, but that didn't happen. I wasn't able to have that one-on-one. So I had to go talk to other people, and be very proactive. And so, like, sure, that's great that it happened for me, but a lot of times people don't want, I mean, I know that I don't like to do that. I don't like to go out of my way to try and find things. But it happened. And I would like to have that leader had followed through, because then I would have had something like to back me up to just kind of have some sort of face-to-face. Face-to-face is so important. I think that's a big reason why Zoom sucks. It's just so much nicer to be in person with somebody and communicate in that way. And so yeah, following through with your like not really promises, but a sort of like, I mean, even a checkup, things that just see how the interns are doing, to really like not maybe network with them, but just get some sort of communication, get some line of communication going. It's great to hear from your leaders when you're going through some stuff. It's great to hear like, hey, how are you doing? Let's talk. I always feel better whenever like somebody who knows what they're doing is willing to reach out to me. So I think something like that is really beneficial. Following through and being like a role model and saying, I want to be like my intern leader when I grow up, things like that. So otherwise, advice-wise, I think just, yeah, asking questions, being open to change, willing to learn, a huge willingness to learn. I mean, this is all like very cliche, like intern advice, but I think it's cliche for a reason.
Thank you. That was very inspirational. Vivian, do you have anything to add to the last question?
Yeah. So for our internship, experience, I would say that it's very important to stay creative and check in, especially about like certain rhetoric or culture aspects, because I would say that, nonprofit culture or like government employee culture is very specific. And we would send some of our interns to other trainings done by different government orgs. And sometimes it would overwhelm them or make them a little bit scared that like, oh, I don't exactly know what they're talking about. So I would like them to feel more like as equally as qualified, just because they might not be as familiar with certain vocabulary. So I would just say that like, yeah, if we can support our interns and like, remind them it's okay that we don't have to know everything. As long as we stay creative, sometimes that works better because, our community members need a certain like method of communication to really reach them. And so like something that I would like to keep in mind is like they come with their own wisdom and their own experience. And if we can like support them and enable them to just prosper on their own, that's also like something that, or we could actually learn from them sometimes as well. So yeah, that is my one takeaway.
Thank you, Vivian, for sharing. Yeah, creativity is something that, I believe interns must have and must express. Thank you, Dylan, Steve, and Vivian for answering my round of questions. Now, for our participants, since we have a few minutes left, do you all want to ask any questions in the group chat for our leaders, or go ahead and ask the question through with your mic? The floor is all yours. And then for Vivian and Dylan and Steve, you feel free to answer questions that resonate with you, or feel free to answer which one you guys want to go to as well.
So actually, Donna, because we have like 184 people, we're keeping their mics off, which is funny because I said 130 to 180 first time, then 150 to 180. Now we're past it. I'm like, well, okay. So amazing. For those who have questions, I encourage them to raise their hand by pressing the reaction button and click raise hand, and we can see those questions show up. We'll try to hit those questions. But a question that did came up though on my end that showed up was, and this is kind of cool if you can hear from like different perspective, right? Because we have new leaders, new interns are coming in. What was something that was surprising in your experience, and what would you offer in terms of wisdom? So for example, like Dylan brought something up, which is like, whoa, what the heck? A corrupt politician, right? That's surprising. And I think Dylan gave us a good example of like, if they had their intern leader, right? So what are some stories like that you might have, whether it's something surprising that maybe our intern leaders or interns can expect to experience maybe? And what can you do? And hopefully maybe they'll get some wisdom. And then for those who are curious, right, write your questions also in the group chat too, because I know some of you might have questions. Oh, and by the way, half thoughts are okay. Questions are encouraged. It can be as simple as, if I'm really tired of getting coffee from my leader, does that mean I don't belong in civic space? And that might be a question, right? Because sometimes people have different version of internship too. But going back now to the questions, like, maybe a challenge or something surprising that you experienced. And I guess looking back, what would you do differently? Maybe that's a better question. Sorry. I like to look on everyone's face when they're trying to think it through. It's either Anthony needs to ask better questions, or like, damn, he gave us a hard one.
I think you hit a nerve, a really hard, that's a hard question, I guess.
I'm personally just trying to think like what would be an example of a surprising like instance that you would have to prepare for. And I mean, besides my one example, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because you've asked, and I think we could use that example too, Dylan, right? Because what would you do differently now, knowing that you were that intern and you didn't get the support you wanted? We were able to say, hey, if my intern leaders provide this time and space and actually committed and following through and meeting with me, dive in support. But also now as the intern, right? Because now looking back, what you could have done, like what can you offer our interns in that you could have done differently?
I guess personally is be really way more proactive about it. Because initially when I first like noticed something was like kind of fishy, like I was kind of playing with the numbers and saying like something's off here. I kind of mentioned to a friend of mine and like to like kind of get a second pair of eyes on it. This is publicly available information. I just like looked into it a lot, so it wasn't like I wasn't breaking any NDAs or anything. And then when I like kind of like got a confirmation, I didn't really do much about it because I was like, do I report it to somebody? Like, what do I do? And I think I should have initially just like sent an email to my intern leader, hey, like this situation is going on, and like, I mean, I don't really want to report it immediately to like authorities or something because I really don't know how it works. Like, do I report it to a reporter? Will I get shut down? Will they just like come down on me and I just get assassinated? Like, what happens? And I didn't really want to. I mean, I'm young. I have many years left in my life, and so I really didn't want to figure out like what's the best way to approach it. And so I took a lot of time thinking about it for myself. And I think maybe having gone to like an intern, because I didn't mention to my intern leader this was happening. I was like, okay, since that meeting is coming up, I'll just tell them then. And it's in person, so there's no record of it. It won't really affect anything that's going on. And then it never happened. So I think if I'd sent an email, just right off the bat, and just like, hey, I noticed something's off. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how to approach it. How do I fix it? I think that that could have been a better approach. Being proactive, being on top of it, just immediately, like once you notice something and you've taken the time to like go from emotional reaction to like logical reaction, act. Because sometimes if you initially just react, it's too much. You know, emotionally driven might not be the best choice. But once you have that time to process it, definitely act then. So I think that was one of my biggest things.
That's good. I like the perspective. Do we have any more room for one more question from anybody? Put it in the chat. Could be anything. Students, do we have student interns? Do we have any questions? What you want to know more about?
So Kaya, oh my goodness, I'm gonna actually, in honor of getting people's name right, I'm gonna ask this person to unmute themselves. So I'm gonna give you permission to unmute. And that person has a really good question.
Oh,
Is it
hi.
Kaya? Kaya?
Yeah, it's Kaya. Hi, nice to meet you all. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, it's kind of cliche, sorry. I was just wondering if there's any like favorite or enjoyable memories y'all had. It could be either as the intern position or as like the mentor or leader of that intern. I don't know. I was just wondering about that.
Thank you. Folks?
I guess for me, I'll go ahead and go first on this one. I remember during my internship, there's like two standout moments. One was there was this, so it was in Houston. Houston is huge, just like, I think it's the largest geographically city in the US. And so it was absolutely massive. And I live in the bottom southeast corner of Houston, and downtown is like where the city council is all and all that. And then my district that I was like interning for is like west side. So it's like an hour and a half drive from where I live. And so one time there was this like HOA meeting, a homeowner association meeting, and we went over there, and I decided to stay and just listen to the problems that the different like residents had. And honestly, like hearing all these like emotional stories about like, hey, this thing just happened, like this kid was literally just shot last week. We were going through a lot. Like, what are we doing to approach that? Are we doing more police patrols? Are we doing some sort of initiative to like get guns off the streets here? Like, what's happening? What's going to happen? So my district is actually the highest human trafficking rate in the U.S. And so it was pretty rough out there. But just hearing those stories, seeing those stories, and knowing that we're actually able to help them in some way, was really, really fulfilling. Like that probably sounds super cliche. So a super cliche question, super cliche answer. But it was really fulfilling, honestly, to know that we could make an impact. Even in my like 2-3 months there, I did something for them. And I stayed until like 9 or 10, and I had an hour and a half drive back. But you know what? Like it felt good. Like I really did feel like I did something meaningful that night. I feel like I could help contribute to something greater than myself. So it was definitely a pivotal moment for me. Pivotal moments. Anyways, I guess my other answer is there was this one time that this woman called in. She didn't speak English very well, and Houston is also very hot, humid. It's pretty bad, and she said that like, look, I've had a heart attack recently. My doctor told me not to get involved in any high intensity of activity at all, and I feel my heart racing right now. It heats too much for me. I don't have an AC unit in my house, and I was like, oh wait, that's like, I think I would die in Houston if I didn't have AC. Like literally, not like, oh no, it feels bad. Like I think people literally die without AC in Houston. And she was telling like, this is not good. And so immediately I called this initiative that we have in Houston to install AC units for senior citizens as well as disabled citizens. And it was being able to like communicate with her like, hey, it's gonna be all right, like calming her down, and then getting her an AC unit from our council office's bank account. Like that felt good too. Just being able to help somebody. And knowing that I may have saved a life. I mean, I guess that's one of the best things you can do as a person, I think. And I just really, it felt great to help them out. So yeah, those are two great moments. Also, we had a movie night one time, just like randomly in the office, and that was pretty cool.
All right, thank you for sharing. There's one more question. Do we have room for one more question, Anthony?
Actually, we have time to even just follow up on Kaya's question with Steve and Vivian, and then we probably could call it close.
All right, perfect.
So I'll just add two things really quickly. When I think about my own internship experiences in college, the opportunity to meet folks from different, we have a really diverse community, and being able to experience and build connections and relationships with folks from that representing different parts of that diversity was definitely really important to me. Meeting folks from different parts of the country, people that had really different worldviews or life experiences from me, and trying to suspend judgment as much as I could in my youthful want for ideological purity, just to engage with folks and hear their stories, I think was really important for me. And then on the flip side, now as a program manager, the things that I really enjoy about the program is having those conversations, one-on-one conversations with interns to see, hey, like, how is your experience going? What are you learning? What are you feeling? What are you thinking about now? So if there's not that time already built into the program, reaching out to your program directors, reaching out to me if you're part of the causes program, it would be definitely something that I would appreciate and have enjoyed immensely, and part of why I do this work. So.
Thank you. Vivian, is there anything you want to share?
Yeah, well, working in Chinatown, doing community outreach, I feel like we have a lot of colorful stories, and I would love to talk about them more someday. But one of the major takeaways I think we had is, like a lot of our interns were local, and between somebody who has like 5 PhDs in political science versus like one person who can really concisely explain like certain policies or concepts or like what's on a ballot in like one sentence really loudly and really vocally in Toisan, like that person who is able to speak Toisan is like pretty powerful. Like to be able to like yell with a grandma, like that person has a lot of like hold and is so like important, and I would love to like focus and uplift on folks like that who do like great community outreach and like stay true to themselves, and in their own way they're also like very much so leaders in their community, even, and like we do make friends with like some of the old people, even if we do not speak the same language. They'll like recognize us and oftentimes come to our booth or something like that for just like helping them read their letters or like call their doctor, and usually that's a pretty funny experience.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I feel like old people are just very authentic. All right, everyone, please send hearts or a clap or a celebration emoji to thank Dylan and Vivian and Steve for an amazing job and being here today. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and give it back to Anthony.
Wonderful. I asked Donna to hand it back to me because I want to make sure I say thank you as well to our amazing speakers. And just for context a little bit, because it's going to lead into our next activity after the break. We purposely asked these folks because, one, they're giving us different perspective, and I hope you're able to take one or two pieces of nuggets. And all you need is one idea, 1% to make things better. And I hope that maybe that's a theme for the summer. It's one idea, 1% at a time, one little action. Because what I was taking away, right? It was like one little walk around town, one little phone call, right, to get the AC, one little interaction, or in this case, Steve, like the one-on-one, have to throw that in there, right? That will make a big difference. And so just for fun, because this is actually a good leadership practice too. So while I'm talking, I'm just going to do a final thank you to them. and then we'll talk about the next steps. In the group chat, write down a takeaway, just the one thing that you're going to take away from this, right? Whether it's the word might be corrupt politician, because that sticks out to me, or maybe it's just the mayoral like campaign that sticks out, whatever that may be, or the Chinatown walk, right? And having those fun stories, taking care of our senior citizens. So go and do that. But with that said, I think you have kind of got Vivian, Steve, and Dylan, you're getting my vibe a little bit. And this is that I want to thank you so much for being here with us. And to one, time, but also we're actually using this moment to plant seeds as well, because the next half of this is actually focused on creating a vision for ourselves, creating a results and a purpose plan for our interns and program leaders. Because what I've seen in the past is that sometimes people show up and they go, I don't know what to do. Ching has told me multiple times as well, our education director, who goes, our program leaders, they're so lost. And I'm like, oh, you know why? Because they forget what their purpose is and the result that they're trying to achieve, right? And we'll talk a little bit more like, what is the purpose? What is the results that you want to achieve? And how do you go about doing that, right? And so we're going to do some leadership development. And so with the seeds they planted by Steve, by Vivian and Dylan, you now have ideas and some inspiration that's like, hey, you know, I would like to build upon that. I like to grow in that. So that's a very long way for me to say thank you for setting us up and planting the seeds. So Dylan, Vivian, Steve, thank you so much for being here. By the way, Dylan is like pushing his like schedule. He told me, he's like, I gotta go pick up my friend at the airport. So I've kind of convinced Dylan to be unethical to his friend to say spend time with us, because yeah. But Dylan, if you need to log off, go for it. Really appreciate you being here. I think Steve and Vivian, you'll be here for the rest of the day with us, right? So I think you can message each other in the group chat. And then just for fun, I think why don't we throw our contact into the group chat as well, so people can reach out to you, have any additional questions. And by the way, I know there are many other leaders out there. We will have time. We'll set the foundation where you all can connect with each other. That's a guarantee. There's something coming up for the special announcement. Yeah. By the way, you all have you had stood up the takeaways yet from the panel, our speakers? Take a look. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that said, we're going to take a little break now. And I'm going to play something in the background in the meantime. Go get a stretch break. Stretch out, get some water, get some food, whatever you need to feel recharged, take care of yourself. You're going to hear this a lot when you work with me is, are you taking care of yourself? Right? Now, I'm also going to say, if you need a hug, I can't give you a hug. Go seek a hug from a pet. Okay, Dylan's giving us a virtual hug. Yeah, there you go. So, by the way, Dylan is just one of the many amazing interns from our programs, right? And so program leaders, it's like you want your interns aspire to be like Dylan, but at the same time, we don't, because they're all special. Okay, with that said, let's come back at 10:30 exactly. And we will start the second part, the leadership part. And that's where we will start showing up as leaders, right? Not just coming with just knowledge, but actually, and not coming with just knowledge, but knowledge and action, but knowledge and intentional action. Okay, because I've seen people with knowledge and action, they make change, but knowledge and intentional action, that's transformation. All right, break time, be back at, oh, right, 10:30 Pacific time, East Coast, that's 1:30? Yeah, I'm getting better at this. Thank you, folks. And then if you're in Alaska, I think it's 9:30.